Should you buy a launch monitor? Let's talk about all the different types, my experience with them, and is it a good fit for your golf game? So let's dive right into it. So first off, what is a launch monitor? So a launch monitor is a piece of machinery that gives you data based on your shot, your hit, whatever you do with a golf ball. And there's upsides and downsides to each type. So first off, what are the different types? Well, there's kind of two main ones. You have camera-based models. This is a GC3 Bushnell Launch Pro. It has 3 high-speed cameras up front that photograph the ball, and using that plus an algorithm, it gives you data outputs like carry distance, club angle of attack, backspin, all that fun stuff. You also have radar-based models. That's your flight scope, your TrackMan, all that, where they are reading the ball via radar being launched away from the unit itself. The upsides and downsides to each unit are pretty much as follows. So the upsides to the camera units are that you can place this right next to basically the golf ball and use it pretty much immediately. You don't need a whole bunch of space behind it like you will with the radar units. And these are pretty much, you can just take this, put it down on the ground, turn it on, and this thing will basically work as is. The downside to this model, or at least a lot of the models, is that a lot of them require additional subscriptions, or for accuracy, they're quite expensive. A standard GC3 is about $6,000 right now, $6,000 to $7,000. This Bushnell Launch Pro, I think, is the best deal right now for a camera-based one. This is about $2,500 plus a added subscription. Going to the radar-based models. So the radar-based model, the upside is that they can be cheaper. The FlightScope, the new Mevo Plus or Mevo 2, $1,500 give or take, and there's no subscription model for what you want to use it for. But the downsides are, is if you really want to get everything out of it, you need to have space behind the golf ball in order to use it, and not immediately behind it. I think typically about 6 feet behind the golf ball at a minimum in order to get usage out of the unit. So if you have a confined space indoors, it can be a little bit more of a difficult thing to do to find space for it. However, the highest end models, the TrackMan, all that stuff, that is kind of the gold standard in terms of launch monitors. You see them in a lot of fitting bays. You see them in a lot of PGA Tour use. And they do use camera models, the GC Quad, Quad Max in particular, but TrackMan in a lot of cases has been kind of the gold standard for launch monitors, basically since they came out in around the 2011, 2012 era. In terms of use case, so the reason why I ended up buying this model in particular is 2 reasons. One is that I think this is the best overall value for a launch monitor for my personal use case. So I use this in my indoor, what I call my hood sim, which is just a cheap indoor simulator that I built myself. I can put this right next to my ball. I can hit in there. I don't need extra space behind the ball in order to use the unit like I would with a FlightScope or with a TrackMan or anything like that. And I can just take this to the course or to the range with me and use this as well. So for both indoor and outdoor applications, for me, this was kind of the perfect fit because of a lot of space reasons for me in particular. The other thing too is I have the most familiarity with the kind of the Foresight system. So this is built by Foresight in general. They all have their own UI, UX, all that fun stuff. And so I'm the most used to that. So I felt more comfortable going that route. If you're going to build something indoors, I think camera models are probably the best in terms of space saving. There are some of the iQor minis and things you can do indoors, but the downside to those is that you can't take them outside, at least the original models you can. So there's upsides and downsides to either. And then on the low end, for a lot of these, you have some of the cheaper models. This is my Rapsodo MLM2 Pro. I did use this for about 2 years, give or take, and this is actually being sent out to a giveaway person from my channel. And this is one of the cheaper models that you can use. It does require space behind the ball, about 6 to 8 feet. But this is about $800, and you get a whole lot out of this. But the downside to this unit, and kind of the same with a lot of the radar units, is if you use it indoors, you need golf balls. For this one in particular, you need golf balls with specific dots on them so it can read backspin and all that fun stuff. For the radar models, if you use them indoor, you need RPT balls, which is a special type of coating that's on the casing so it can read them indoors in order to get optimal numbers for that. So that's kind of the overview and lay of the land of this. My experience with the Launch Pro overall has been very positive. I have a lot of good things to say about it. I've had it for about 5 weeks now. I use it almost daily. Can't recommend it enough. truly, I think if you're going to go simulator, course, all of that, this is the best bang for your buck. $2,500. Plus, you have to do the subscription, but you get everything from really incredible numbers in terms of accuracy. For one, get to use it outdoors. Number two, and number three is if you want to do full simulator all the way up to GS Pro, that is an option with the Gold subscription. The only other unit that I would say and I would recommend at a cheaper price range is probably the is it the Mevo 2 or whatever the newest Mevo version is from FlightScope. You can get a whole bunch of great numbers, great data with about $1,500 in terms of cost. There's no subscription. So that's also a big win there. Although indoors, if you want it to be accurate, you do need the RPT balls, which is the downside to that model. On the high end, you have TrackMan, you have the FlightScope X series, and then you have the Quad and Quad Max and all that stuff. Does the average person need that? No, you don't need that. If you have the money and you want to mess around, could it be fun? Totally. Um, and I think at that scale, it's kind of just based around like what would you prefer. I think TrackMan has the most kind of complete system out of all of them personally, because when you get to the high end and you want to get club data with this or with a GC Quad, Quad Max, you need to put stickers on the club. You don't need to do that with TrackMan. TrackMan already can map that pretty accurately. But yeah, I think if you're going to do something indoors and outdoors, definitely look at both models. But if you have the space limitation, go with this. The only thing I would say is if you're only going to use it on range and you're not going to have it indoors and you're just an average Joe golfer, I would not get a launch monitor. I do not think it's necessary. I personally got this in particular because it fits into my life because I can't get to the club as much as I would like. So what I end up using this to practice in my garage when I can't get to the club as much as I would like. Full-time job, kid, wife, everything. So fits into my life really nicely. But if you're not going to use it at home, might not be worth the money to you. So hope you found this informative. If you have any questions, feel free to leave in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.